What if time isn't what it appears to be? What if the hours you feel passing, the memories you hold, and the days that seem to move in a straight line are all part of a deeper illusion woven into the structure of the cosmos? It's a strange thought, but as you settle into this quiet moment, you might notice something subtle. The more closely you look at time, the harder it becomes to define. It slips through the mind like sand through open fingers. Around you, the night feels still. The air carries a softness that slows your thoughts, easing them into a gentle rhythm. You're safe here, wrapped in calm, floating in a silence that feels almost detached from clocks and deadlines. In this peaceful space, time loosens its grip, revealing the possibility that its flow may not be as rigid or universal as you were taught. The world grows quieter, as if preparing you to explore something delicate. Scientists have long suspected that time is not absolute. Einstein showed that it bends and stretches, running differently for speeding travelers or those near strong gravity. Quantum physics complicates things further, hinting that the order of events might not be fixed, that cause and effect can blur. Even cosmology whispers questions about whether the universe began in the way we imagine. Tonight, we'll explore why time might be the biggest illusion ever conceived. If this kind of calm, thought-provoking science brings you peace, you're warmly invited to leave a like and subscribe. It helps others find this quiet corner of the universe, and it supports the creation of more slow journeys like this one. No pressure, just gratitude for your presence here and the curiosity you bring with you. And now, as the stillness deepens and your breath settles into an easy rhythm, let's drift toward the first thread of this mystery, toward the place where our everyday understanding of time begins to unravel into something far more extraordinary. Time feels like a steady companion, always moving forward at the same pace, always carrying us from moment to moment. But the deeper physicists peer into the universe, the more this comforting image dissolves. Time does not behave like an absolute backdrop. It stretches, twists, rearranges itself, and sometimes refuses to flow at all. That fragility invites a new kind of wonder, the sense that time might not be what it seems. Einstein reshaped our understanding when he revealed that time is woven with space into a single structure. Motion bends it, gravity slows it. Events shift depending on perspective. Suddenly, now no longer meant the same thing everywhere. Two people drifting through the cosmos could experience different durations between the same events, simply because their paths through space-time differ. Trying to picture this flexibility feels like imagining a vast sheet of fabric rippling with every movement. Stand still, and your section stays smooth. Move quickly, and folds begin to appear. The fabric stretches or contracts depending on how you travel across it. Time behaves that way, never fixed, always adjusting to the shape of the universe beneath it. The realization that time is malleable sparks a quiet shift in perspective. It suggests that our everyday experience, hours ticking forward in perfect order, is only one version of reality. Beneath that familiar rhythm lies a world far more fluid, where the pace of existence depends on gravity, velocity, and geometry. Even the most precise clocks ever built reveal the truth. Atomic clocks placed just a few centimeters apart tick at different rates because the gravitational pull differs slightly between those 2 points. NASA has measured it. Universities have confirmed it. Your head literally ages quicker than your feet because time runs faster the farther you are from Earth's center. This difference arises because gravity curves space-time. The more curved it is, the more time is slowed. The idea is not metaphorical, it is measurable. Time becomes a landscape with hills and valleys, shaped by mass and motion. Travelers at different elevations experience different flows of time without noticing any change. Thinking of time as a terrain rather than a straight line opens the imagination. It evokes an image of invisible rivers flowing everywhere, each moving at its own pace. Two people might stand side by side, yet their personal currents of time drift differently, as subtly distinct as shades of a color too faint for the naked eye. The relativity of simultaneity deepens this strangeness. Two events you believe happened at the same time might not be simultaneous for someone moving at a different speed. Time does not dictate a single ordering of events. It allows many possible arrangements, depending on where the observer stands. Understanding this feels like listening to a melody played in multiple rooms at once. In one room, a note arrives early. In another, it comes late. The variations don't break the music. They reveal layers you didn't hear before. Time forms harmonies, not strict sequences. But relativity is only the beginning of time's illusion. Quantum physics complicates everything further. At the smallest scales, the concept of a before and after becomes slippery. Certain processes do not have a definite order until they are observed. Reality does not insist on a rigid timeline. It allows possibilities to float untethered, choosing their order only when forced. Considering this quantum ambiguity evokes images of dust swirling in sunlight, shifting moment by moment with no predetermined path. Each grain dances lightly, responding to invisible air currents. Time, at the smallest scales, dances too, refusing to lock into a strict direction. Cosmology adds yet another layer to the puzzle. Equations describing the entire universe do not require time to flow from past to future. They describe a timeless structure, a block universe, where every moment exists simultaneously, like pages of a book already written. In such a model, the flow of time is not a property of the universe, but of consciousness. Trying to imagine a block universe is like holding a crystal filled with countless frozen patterns. You can examine any side, any angle, any facet, yet nothing moves unless you move around it. The motion you perceive is a result of your shifting perspective, not the object itself. Reflecting on this idea introduces a feeling that is both disorienting and calming. If all moments exist at once, then time may be less a river and more a landscape. We move through it, giving the illusion of flow, but the terrain itself might be still. That possibility reshapes everything we think we know about change. Neuroscience supports this perspective in an unexpected way. The brain does not receive information continuously. It gathers snapshots and stitches them into a story. The feeling of time flowing arises from how the mind smooths those snapshots together, weaving a sense of continuity from fragments. Understanding this evokes a gentle tenderness toward perception. Reality is complex, but our minds craft a version we can live with. Simple, flowing, comprehensible. Time may not be a fundamental property of the cosmos, but it becomes a fundamental property of experience. This raises a surprisingly intimate question. If the universe doesn't require time to flow, why do we feel its passage so deeply? Why do memories fade into the past while hopes drift toward the future? Perhaps the illusion of flow is not a mistake. It's a feature of consciousness, giving shape to experience the way frames give shape to a film. Thinking about this connection between time and awareness brings a soft sense of awe. The universe may be timeless at its core, yet within that timelessness, living beings carve out narratives, stories with beginnings, middles, and ends. We impose direction onto something that may not inherently possess it. Even entropy, often blamed for time's arrow, is not a fundamental force. It's a statistical tendency, not a command. The universe's movement from order to disorder emerges naturally, but nothing in physics demands that it define a universal direction. Time's arrow might be a reflection of how we observe, not how things truly are. Reflecting on entropy feels like watching a candle burn. The flame dances, wax softens, heat dissipates. The moment seems to slip away. But at the fundamental level, the atoms moving around the flame are simply following equations without preference for direction. The flow is ours, not theirs. The more deeply you explore these ideas, the more time begins to reveal its fragility. It no longer feels like an unbreakable framework. It begins to resemble a dimension that emerges from relationships, motion, gravity, and perception. Time takes shape only when the universe becomes complex enough to host beings capable of noticing it. And as the last threads of these ideas settle around you, a subtle impression forms, one that feels both profound and delicate. It suggests that the greatest delusion in the universe might not be time itself, but the belief that time is something external to us. And just beneath that impression, the mystery deepens, inviting us to drift further into what lies ahead. You might imagine that clocks scattered throughout the universe all tick together, like instruments following the same conductor. But there is no universal tempo guiding them. Each clock moves to its own rhythm, shaped by velocity and gravity. Time does not unfold uniformly. It drapes differently over every path, creating a patchwork of timelines rather than a single, synchronized beat. This becomes evident when we compare clocks moving at different speeds. A fast-moving spacecraft, racing through space, experiences time more slowly than a clock resting on Earth. This isn't the result of friction or strain. It's built into the geometry of space-time. Motion through space affects motion through time. Trying to visualize this interplay feels like imagining two dancers moving across a dimly lit stage. One glides quickly, covering distance with grace. The other moves slowly, savoring each step. Both share the same floor, yet their rhythms diverge. Time behaves similarly, guiding each traveler according to their path. Considering this divergence inspires a subtle wonder. The universe doesn't enforce a single standard for experience. Instead, it allows each observer to carry their own private tempo. Time becomes personal rather than universal, shaped by movement, gravity, and perspective. The relativity of time becomes even clearer when considering observers in different gravitational fields. A clock near a massive planet ticks more slowly than one far from any source of gravity. Measurements by GPS satellites confirm this daily. Engineers must adjust their clocks to account for time passing faster in orbit than on Earth's surface. This difference arises because gravity curves space-time. Near a massive object, the curvature intensifies, causing time to slow. High above, where gravity is weaker, the curvature lessens, allowing time to pass more quickly. It's not a failure of clocks, it's a feature of the universe's structure. Picturing curved time evokes the image of a soft mattress bending under weight. A marble rolling near the depression travels differently than one resting on the flat surface. The mattress reshapes the marble's journey. Gravity reshapes time in the same gentle, invisible way. As these ideas settle, the simplicity of our everyday intuition fades. Time begins to feel less like a straight line and more like a field of interconnected currents flowing at different speeds. What we call the present becomes a local phenomenon, not a universal one. Even the concept of simultaneity loses its solidity. Two events that appear simultaneous to you may not be simultaneous for someone else moving differently. A person traveling rapidly might see one event unfold before another, while you perceive the opposite order. Time refuses to impose a single narrative. Contemplating this feels like hearing two musicians play variations of the same melody, one slightly ahead, the other slightly behind. Neither is wrong. Their timing simply reflects their vantage point. The universe allows these layered interpretations. Light deepens the mystery even further, because nothing can move faster than light. Its speed forms the backbone of how time and space relate. When light travels through curved space-time, its path bends, but its speed stays constant, forcing time to adjust to maintain harmony. Light becomes a messenger, revealing time's flexibility. Thinking about light as a messenger evokes the image of a lone traveler moving through fog, always steady, always forward, shaping the path simply by existing. The fog shifts around the traveler, not the other way around. Time shifts around light similarly, bending to preserve its speed. These distortions become especially dramatic near massive objects. Light passing close to a star or galaxy bends noticeably, curving along the fabric of space-time. As it bends, the travel time stretches. Observers far away see delays, not because the light slows, but because space-time itself elongates the path. Reflecting on this reveals the delicate balance woven into the universe. Time adjusts itself to preserve cosmic laws, even when those adjustments contradict intuition. The rules remain consistent, but the experience changes depending on where you stand. One surprising implication is that there is no universal now. Each observer slices space-time differently, defining their present based on their motion. What is now for you may be part of someone else's past or future. The present becomes subjective, shaped by perspective. Visualizing this subjectivity feels like imagining countless lanterns glowing across a dark plain. Each lantern casts its own small circle of light, its own now, overlapping in some places, diverging in others. No single lantern illuminates the whole landscape. Quantum physics amplifies this subjectivity. At small scales, particles can exist in superpositions, multiple states at once, until they interact or are measured. Their timelines blur, abandoning classical order. The universe seems less concerned with strict sequences than we once believed. This blurring evokes an image of raindrops sliding down a window, merging and separating unpredictably. The path of each drop is influenced by invisible textures in the glass. Time, at the quantum level, follows similarly uncertain paths, guided by underlying structure. Considering this uncertainty shifts the emotional experience of time. Instead of feeling strictly bound by its flow, you begin to sense its malleability. Moments stretch or contract emotionally, mirroring the physical stretching or contracting that occurs in space-time. The subjective and the cosmic intertwine. One remarkable consequence of relativity is that two people can reunite after moving differently through space-time and discover they have aged at different rates. This isn't theoretical. It has been measured with fast airplanes and precise clocks. Time travel into the future is not science fiction. It is a natural result of motion. Imagining this aging difference feels like visualizing two streams flowing from the same spring, weaving through different landscapes, then merging again downstream. Their journeys differ, yet they both carry the same water. Their meeting reflects the diversity of paths through space-time. These ideas hint at a larger truth. Time is not a single, rigid thread woven through existence. It is a tapestry of countless threads, each twisted and stretched differently. What we perceive as a smooth, uniform flow is really a simplified version of a far more intricate reality. And as this tapestry begins to reveal itself, another layer of the illusion appears, a deeper mystery that suggests time may not only be flexible, but emergent, arising from something more fundamental hidden beneath the fabric of space-time itself. It's fascinating to realize that physics has no requirement for time to flow. Nowhere in Einstein's equations is there a symbol that forces moments to move from past to future. Instead, the mathematics describes all events, past, present, and future, as part of a single structure. To physics, each moment simply is, timelessly woven into space-time. The feeling of flow comes from somewhere else entirely. Many physicists describe this structure as the block universe, a four-dimensional tapestry where every moment exists permanently. You could imagine it like a vast cosmic sculpture, every detail, every second of every life, every star forming or dying, all carved into a single timeless shape. The sculpture doesn't move, we move through it. Imagining the block universe feels like holding a crystal up to the light, seeing countless facets glinting simultaneously. Each angle reveals a different moment, already formed. Nothing is rushing. Nothing is disappearing. Only your viewpoint changes, creating the illusion of unfolding motion where none exists in the object itself. Reflecting on this can produce a strange kind of awe. The idea that your entire life, everything you've experienced and everything you will experience, could already exist within the structure of space-time is both comforting and unsettling. It suggests that time may be more like geography than a river, with moments as locations rather than fleeting instants. Another surprising truth is that the laws of physics do not inherently distinguish between past and future. Most equations work perfectly well in reverse. A film of planets orbiting a star could be played forward or backward, and the mathematics would not care. Time symmetry lies at the heart of nature's rules, even if our experience feels different. This symmetry invites a deeper question. If the universe's laws don't require an arrow of time, why do we feel one so strongly? Why do memories form in only one direction? Why do we grow older but never younger? The answer may lie not in physics, but in the workings of complex systems like the human brain. Trying to imagine time without flow evokes the image of a silent library filled with endless books. Each page represents a moment, frozen yet complete. The library doesn't demand that you read the pages in order. You could flip to any chapter and find it fully formed. The sequence exists only because you choose to turn the pages. This perspective adds a gentle layer of melancholy. It suggests that our sense of progression is something we impose on the universe, not something the universe imposes on us. The feeling of days slipping by may be less about cosmic truth and more about the way our minds process patterns and memory. Neuroscience shows that the brain constructs the sensation of now from a blend of incoming sensory information and stored memories. It stitches together fragments, fills in gaps, and creates continuity. The present moment is not a fixed point, it's a reconstruction, a best guess. Our experience of time depends on perception rather than absolute physics. Understanding this evokes an image of an artist painting over an old canvas, layer by layer, smoothing colors until a seamless picture emerges. The brush strokes are scattered moments. The finished artwork is the story we experience. The illusion of flow arises from how the brain blends these strokes into coherent motion. Quantum mechanics complicates things even more. At the smallest scales, the order of events can become ambiguous. Experiments demonstrate that sometimes it's impossible to say whether event A caused event B or vice versa. The universe allows situations where the sequence itself remains undefined until measured. Thinking of this ambiguity conjures the image of two shadows moving on a wall. Their motions intertwine so closely that you can't tell which one responds to the other. They drift and overlap, creating a dance with no obvious beginning or end. Time at the quantum level behaves with the same fluidity. Cosmology offers yet another twist. The expansion of the universe might generate what we perceive as time's arrow. As space grows, structures form, entropy increases, and complexity rises. But these processes don't force time to flow. They only give the impression that the universe is marching towards something. This notion feels like walking along a beach where each step leaves a footprint. The footprints accumulate, creating a trail that tells a story of movement. Yet the sand itself isn't pushing you forward. You move, and the footprints appear. The arrow of time might be similar, something emerging from what we leave behind, not from what pulls us ahead. One of the most profound consequences of these ideas is the collapse of a universal present. If time is a landscape rather than a river, there is no single now stretching across the cosmos. Each observer slices space-time differently, defining their own present. The universe contains countless overlapping nows, none privileged above the others. Visualizing this multiplicity evokes a field of fireflies blinking at different intervals. Each glow represents a moment of awareness. The lights don't sync, they don't conform, they simply exist, each illuminating its own tiny portion of the night. The present is similarly scattered throughout space-time. This challenges the intuition that time is shared. What feels simultaneous to one observer may be past or future to another. In this view, time becomes a deeply personal experience, shaped by motion, gravity, and the boundaries of perception. We inhabit our own temporal bubble. The emotional impact of this realization is unexpectedly gentle. It softens the edges of fear about change, aging, and loss. If all moments exist within the fabric of the universe, then nothing vanishes completely. Moments don't disappear, they reside in their own coordinates, preserved in the tapestry. Even the idea of before and after grows fragile when confronted with relativity. Events that seem sequential from one perspective may appear reversed or rearranged from another. The universe allows a fluid interplay of ordering, untethered from human expectation. Time adapts to geometry, not to desire. Reflecting on this flexibility feels like observing waves lapping against the shore in their own unpredictable rhythm. They advance, retreat, overlap. The motion isn't strictly linear. It's a dialogue between wind, water, and gravity. Time, too, becomes a pattern shaped by deeper forces. Another aspect worth considering is how consciousness influences time perception. When you're immersed in something joyful, hours seem to vanish. In moments of anxiety, each second becomes heavy. The brain stretches or compresses subjective time depending on emotion. Internal time often differs wildly from physical time. This elasticity suggests that the deepest experience of time occurs within us, not outside us. The flow we feel is a blend of memory, attention, and awareness, a rhythm generated by the mind, not the cosmos. Time may be an illusion, but it's an illusion we participate in creating. If the universe indeed holds all moments at once, then our journey through time is like walking through a vast garden. Flowers bloom everywhere, each at a fixed point in space, yet we encounter them sequentially. The blooming is not caused by our arrival. We simply reach them one at a time. This imagery carries a quiet beauty. It implies that every moment of your life still exists somewhere in the structure of space-time. Every childhood memory, every laugh, every dream. They don't vanish. You simply move away from them, continuing along the garden path. And as these ideas take shape, a subtle realization begins to surface, one that leads deeper into the illusion of time toward questions about memory, identity, and the nature of experience itself. Something beneath the surface waits, ready to shift the emotional tone into quiet mystery as the journey continues. One of the strangest discoveries in modern physics is that nothing in the universe moves evenly from past to future. The laws governing particles don't push time forward. They simply describe how things exist within space-time. The forward motion you feel, the sense of progressing from one instant to the next, is something that arises from inside, not outside. Deepening this idea reveals a surprising insight. The universe doesn't actually give you a present moment. It only gives you information arriving at different times from different places. Light from distant stars might take years, centuries, even millions of years to reach you. Your now contains layers of the universe at wildly different ages. Thinking about this layered present evokes the sensation of listening to echoes in a vast canyon. Some sounds arrive quickly, others bounce and return later. Your mind threads them into a single acoustic experience, even though they belong to different moments. The cosmos operates similarly, sending countless delayed signals. This fragile synthesis of signals forms the illusion of a unified present. Your brain merges incoming information into a coherent moment, as if stitching pieces from various times into one smooth tapestry. Without that stitching, your now would shatter into fragments of unrelated seconds, drifting through awareness without connection. Your experience of past and future begins with memory. Memory creates the impression of something behind you. Anticipation creates the sense of something ahead, yet both arise internally. They are not directions baked into the universe. They are mental constructs that help organize experience. Visualizing this feels like imagining a gallery of paintings arranged on a circular wall. Each painting represents a moment, vivid, complete. You walk around the room, viewing them one at a time. The paintings don't move, your position does. Their order becomes meaningful only because of the path you choose. Physics suggests the universe behaves similarly. The moments exist, and consciousness moves through them. The sensation of flow, the way time seems to pull you forward, may come from the brain's constant comparison of sensory inputs to stored memories. It is a cognitive rhythm rather than a cosmic rule. The fact that different observers cannot agree on what is now reinforces this idea. Someone moving at high speed could see your future as their present. Another could see your past. The universe doesn't insist on a single ordering of moments. It allows countless overlapping perspectives, each valid within its own frame. This lack of universal order evokes a soft, dreamlike quality. It's as if the cosmos whispers that the distinctions we cling to, before, now, after, are simpler than reality truly is. The deeper structure feels too vast to compress into a single timeline. Entropy is often cited as the reason we feel time's arrow, but entropy itself doesn't force direction. It's a statistical outcome of complexity. In a simple, uniform universe, time's arrow might not exist at all. Only when countless particles interact in intricate ways do patterns emerge that give the impression of forward motion. This idea feels like watching a murmuration of birds. One bird's motion doesn't dictate the pattern, yet their collective movement forms something that looks directed and alive. Time's arrow may be similar, an emergent behavior of many interacting parts, not a fundamental feature. If time truly is emergent, then asking why it exists becomes like asking why a wave forms on the ocean. The wave is not a thing unto itself. It's a behavior of water under influence. Time might be the same, a behavior of the universe, arising naturally when conditions permit. Imagining time as a wave provokes a quiet sense of humility. Waves come and go. They do not define the ocean defines them. Time might not define the universe. It might be a shimmering effect surfacing from deeper laws we haven't yet fully understood. Another clue lies in the relationship between time and information. Events become meaningful only when information about them can be recorded or remembered. The universe at its smallest scales is constantly fluctuating, and without stable records, before and after lose meaning. Information flow creates the illusion of sequence. Visualizing this feels like watching fireflies blinking in a dark field. Each flash illuminates a moment. The sequence of lights appears meaningful, Yet the glow patterns are independent. Your mind instinctively strings them together, creating continuity from scattered signals. This stitching of continuity hints at why we perceive time as flowing. The brain constantly updates its internal model of the world, smoothing transitions between changing states. Without this smoothing, perception would feel disjointed, like watching reality through a flickering lantern. Time's flow may be the brain's remedy for chaos. Quantum mechanics adds to the puzzle with processes that have no fixed timeline until observed. Events can unfold in superpositions where order is undecided. Only when measurement collapses, the superposition does a specific sequence emerge. The universe seems capable of holding multiple temporal possibilities at once. This uncertainty evokes an image of ripples spreading across a pond in overlapping circles. The ripples interfere, merge, and separate, forming patterns that seem to belong to no single moment. Time at the quantum scale behaves like those ripples, patterns without fixed order until seen from above. One implication of all this is deeply profound. The universe doesn't need time as we know it. The laws of physics work perfectly without a flowing present. The flow may be a convenient interface, a way conscious beings interpret a static reality too large and complex to grasp whole. Considering this static reality feels like looking at an intricate tapestry. From afar, it appears dynamic, full of movement and evolving color. But up close, you see that each thread is fixed in place, part of a pattern that only seems alive because of how your perspective shifts across it. This perspective change reshapes our emotional relationship with life. If moments are fixed within the structure of the universe, then experiences do not simply vanish. They become coordinates in space-time, existing as surely as stars exist in the night sky. Memory does not resurrect those moments. They never disappeared. The idea that every moment remains preserved offers a quiet comfort. It suggests that nothing is truly lost, only left behind as you move through the temporal landscape. The laughter of childhood, the warmth of a particular sunlight, the quiet of a forgotten evening, they remain, written into the structure of space-time. Grasping this brings a new kind of wonder, the kind that softens the edges of fear associated with change. If time is an illusion, then change is not a disappearance but a shift of location within the tapestry. You continue forward, not because time pushes you, but because consciousness moves through the structure naturally. And as this part of the journey draws to a soft pause, a deeper mystery begins to shimmer through the edges of awareness. Something that hints that the illusion of time might not just involve physics, but the very nature of identity, existence, and what it means to experience anything at all. The more scientists uncover about time, the clearer it becomes that consciousness plays a central role in how we experience it. Without awareness, moments have no sequence, no texture, no emotional weight. They simply exist. The experience of flowing through them arises only when a mind registers change and attaches meaning. This realization transforms time from a cosmic dictator into something more intimate and fragile. One of the keys to understanding this fragility lies in entropy, the measure of disorder in a system. As entropy increases, events become harder to reverse. A glass shattering, milk mixing into coffee, smoke dispersing into the air. These processes unfold easily in one direction, but nearly never in the opposite. The universe seems to prefer increasing disorder. This preference evokes the image of a sandcastle slowly eroding beneath incoming waves. The water's motion is natural, inevitable. The castle's collapse is not commanded by time. It's simply the most statistically likely outcome. Entropy guides the unfolding of events without enforcing a strict arrow. What we call time's arrow may arise because we remember low entropy states and witness them giving way to higher entropy ones. Memory itself forms in one direction. Our brains carve records of the past, but not of the future. This asymmetry generates the feeling that time is dragging us forward, even though physics doesn't demand such motion. Considering this asymmetry invites reflection on the deep connection between memory and identity. Your sense of self depends on accumulating traces of previous experiences. These traces anchor you, creating the illusion of a linear path. Without memory, you wouldn't perceive movement through time at all. You'd exist in a perpetual, undefined moment. Trying to imagine life without memory feels like watching waves wash over footprints in the sand. The impressions vanish, leaving no trace of direction or progression. Without a trail behind you, forward motion loses its meaning. Time becomes indistinguishable from stillness. Scientists have proposed that the flow of time may emerge from the growth of information in the universe. As events unfold, new configurations arise that did not exist before. Each configuration holds more information than the one before it. This accumulation creates a sense of novelty, as if the universe is constantly unfolding into something new. Visualizing this information growth evokes the image of a tree slowly spreading its branches. Each new branch contains a record of every branch before it, yet the growth feels directional, even though the underlying rules remain consistent. Time may behave like that tree, branching, expanding, accumulating. But what if the universe, at its most fundamental level, does not experience growth at all? Some theories suggest that all possible states coexist timelessly, and what we experience as novelty is simply our consciousness moving across different configurations. In this view, change is not the universe evolving. It's us shifting within it. This possibility creates a sense of profound mystery. It suggests that motion, development, and progression may be illusions created by perspective. A traveler walking through a gallery might believe the paintings are changing, when in truth the paintings remain fixed. The movement belongs to the traveler. Another clue comes from the quantum realm. In certain experiments, particles behave as though time does not dictate their behavior. They appear to influence events both forward and backward in time, responding to conditions that have not yet occurred. This retrocausality challenges our intuition about cause and effect. Imagining retrocausality feels like watching a ripple move across a pond and noticing that some patterns seem to anticipate the pebble's splash. It's as if the water remembers the future. The mind resists this idea, yet quantum experiments continue to hint at phenomena where time's arrow becomes tangled. The tension between these quantum experiments and classical experience reveals how deeply perception shapes reality. The mind demands order. It demands sequence. It demands continuity. Without these, existence feels disorienting. So the brain constructs a steady narrative, smoothing irregularities into a coherent flow. This smoothing process is akin to watching a movie filmed at a low frame rate. The brain fills in the gaps, transforming staggered images into continuous movement. Time's flow may be no more fundamental than the illusion of smooth motion created by rapid snapshots. If time is indeed an emergent illusion, why does it feel so real? Perhaps because living beings require it. Survival depends on prediction, anticipating danger, seeking food, forming memories. The illusion of flow supports these functions. Without it, consciousness might collapse into chaos, unable to differentiate moments. Thinking about survival shaping perception evokes the image of a lantern illuminating only a small portion of a vast cave. The lantern doesn't reveal the entire space. It reveals only what your next step requires. Time may be that lantern, illuminating just enough of reality for awareness to function. Another question arises: if the universe is timeless, why do we age? Aging seems like proof of time's flow, yet aging is a biological process driven by entropy, cellular decay, and molecular interactions. These processes unfold asymmetrically, but they do not prove time flows. They only prove that change accumulates. Imagining aging as accumulated change rather than progression feels like watching leaves gather on a forest floor. The carpet of leaves grows deeper over time, but the forest itself is not marching forward. It simply sheds what must be shed. Your body does the same, following statistical patterns, not obeying a cosmic arrow. Cosmology adds yet more complexity. The expansion of the universe creates a sense of direction, but expansion is not movement through time. It is a change in distance between points in space-time. This change can be described without invoking a flowing time at all. The equations are static. The interpretation is dynamic. This static interpretation mirrors a frozen waterfall. The stone structure may appear to be flowing, with curves and streaks suggesting motion, yet nothing within it actually moves. The motion exists only in the mind of the observer interpreting the shape. When contemplating these layers, it becomes difficult to hold on to a simple definition of time. It behaves like a tapestry woven from perception, memory, entropy, and mathematical structure. Remove any one thread, and the familiar image begins to unravel. And beneath this unraveling lies an even deeper question, one that begins to whisper from the edges of awareness, drawing us into a quieter, more mysterious region of understanding, where the boundary between illusion and identity becomes thinner than ever. Every attempt to understand time eventually circles back to a paradox. Physics can describe moments, but not the sensation of being in one. Equations account for sequences, intervals, and relationships between events, yet none of them contain the lived feeling of now. This gap between physical time and experience time is one of the deepest mysteries in science. Some researchers believe the brain constructs the present by blending sensory inputs over short intervals, roughly a few hundred milliseconds. Instead of delivering reality instantly, the brain waits, integrates, smooths, and presents a unified moment. What feels immediate is actually a carefully crafted composite of slightly older information. This compositing process is similar to how your eyes smooth motion in animation. A rapid sequence of still images becomes fluid movement only because the brain interprets it as continuous. Time's flow may arise through the same mechanism, your mind filling gaps, creating continuity where none strictly exists. Thinking of this evokes the image of an orchestra playing just out of sync, yet through the acoustics of the hall, your ears weave the notes into harmony. The brain performs a similar feat with temporal signals, merging fragments into a seamless rhythm that feels natural and inevitable. Yet the laws of nature reveal no such rhythm. At the quantum level, time may not exist at all. Several approaches to quantum gravity, attempts to unify general relativity with quantum mechanics, remove time from their fundamental equations entirely. Reality appears as a static configuration, and time emerges only when certain patterns are interpreted from it. Imagining a timeless fundamental reality conjures the impression of a frozen sculpture containing every motion you could ever witness. The sculpture doesn't change, yet within it lies the potential for all change. The flow of time comes from the vantage point of the observer, not from the sculpture itself. One of the most intriguing concepts in theoretical physics is thermal time. It suggests that time emerges from the statistical state of a system, not from underlying laws. In this view, time is not fundamental. It's a side effect of how large systems behave when left to evolve naturally. Visualizing thermal time evokes an image of steam rising from a cup of tea. The swirling vapor appears to move with purpose, yet its patterns are simply the collective behavior of countless molecules. The apparent direction arises naturally from the system's conditions, not from an inherent cosmic clock. Another idea proposes that time emerges from entanglement, the deep quantum connection between particles. As systems become more entangled, correlations build in specific directions, creating the impression of a sequence. The flow we experience could be a reflection of these growing correlations, not of actual temporal movement. Thinking of entanglement as a source of time evokes the image of threads slowly weaving themselves into a tapestry. Each connection strengthens the emerging pattern, giving the impression of progression. The tapestry doesn't move, the pattern becomes more defined. If entanglement does create the illusion of flow, then time becomes a measure of increasing structure, not a fundamental ingredient. This perspective reshapes the meaning of causality. Instead of events pushing the universe forward, relationships between systems deepen, creating an expanding sense of direction. Contemplating this feels like watching dawn unfold across a landscape. The light doesn't force the terrain to exist, it simply reveals new layers of what was already there. Time may function like that light, revealing pre-existing structure as consciousness moves through it. Another remarkable insight arises when considering the concept of the specious present, the short window of time your consciousness interprets as now. This window isn't a single instant, it's a small span your brain smooths into a unified moment. The present is not a point, it's a perception. Visualizing the specious present evokes the image of a lantern casting a circle of glow onto a forest path. The light doesn't illuminate an infinitely thin line, it reveals a small region. Everything inside that region becomes now, even though parts of it belong to slightly different times. Relativity complicates this further by showing that your present isn't the universe's present. Someone moving at a different speed slices space-time differently. Their lantern illuminates a different region. The idea of shared simultaneity dissolves, replaced by countless overlapping interpretations. This dissolution evokes a strange calm. The universe doesn't insist on a single narrative. Instead, it allows each observer to create their own temporal story. The flow feels real because it belongs to you, not because it belongs to the cosmos. A deeper layer emerges when considering how emotions influence time perception. Fear compresses perception, making seconds stretch. Joy accelerates awareness, causing hours to vanish. Boredom slows the mind's rhythm. Focus tightens it. Internal time is flexible and subjective, shaped not by physics, but by experience. Imagining emotional time feels like watching the sky change colors at dusk. The shift is gradual, yet your perception shapes the pace, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. The sky simply exists. Your mind interprets the transition. This subjectivity hints that time's most meaningful qualities come from consciousness. Without minds to feel it, time might be nothing more than structure. With minds, it becomes story. Experience gives time the flavor physics lacks. Even biological rhythms introduce their own clocks. Circadian cycles, hormonal patterns, neural oscillations, all contribute to a sense of passage. These internal clocks evolve to synchronize bodies with their environment, turning the illusion of flow into a tool for survival. Thinking of these biological rhythms evokes the gentle pulse of waves washing onto a shore. The tide doesn't measure time, but the repetition creates a rhythm you can feel. The body operates in much the same way, recurrence creating the impression of continuity. All these layers, physics, perception, biology, interweave to create a phenomenon that feels solid, yet dissolves when examined. The more we search for time's essence, the more it drifts like smoke, impossible to hold. And in that drifting lies the quiet suggestion of something even more enigmatic, something that whispers that the illusion of time may be tied not only to the universe's structure, but to the deepest questions about what it means to exist at all. A deeper mystery begins to surface when you consider how closely time intertwines with identity. Who you are seems inseparable from your memories, yet those memories are fragile reconstructions rather than flawless recordings. The sense of continuity you carry, the belief that you are the same person from moment to moment, may be the very mechanism that generates the illusion of time. Neuroscience reveals that memory isn't stored as a single, cohesive narrative. Instead, it's scattered across various regions of the brain, rebuilt each time you recall it. The past you rely on isn't a fixed archive, it's a story reassembled again and again, shaped by who you are now more than by who you were then. Thinking of memory as reconstruction evokes the image of an artist repainting the same landscape each morning. The hills remain, but the colors shift, brushstrokes change, and subtle details fade or reappear. The painting evolves, yet the scene feels familiar. Your identity evolves the same way, guided by internal reinterpretation. This constant reinterpretation suggests that the sensation of moving through time might come not from the universe, but from the brain's perpetual effort to preserve coherence. To sustain a stable sense of self, the mind arranges memories into a sequence, crafting a timeline that feels objective even though it's subjective. Contemplating this invites a quiet introspection. If the past is a reconstruction and the future a projection, then the present becomes the only place where experience truly occurs. Yet even the present is stitched from signals arriving at different times, smoothed into a moment your brain can manage. One of the most striking ideas in modern physics is that the entire universe may be a static, timeless structure. Time appears to flow not because the universe changes, but because consciousness moves along a path within that structure. The river doesn't flow, the observer travels through it. This perspective evokes an image of wandering through a vast museum, each room containing a different moment frozen in exquisite detail. You walk through the halls, believing the museum rearranges itself around you. But the rooms don't change position, you change position within them. The illusion of flow arises because your awareness encounters one configuration after another. The brain interprets this as motion, but from a higher vantage point, one outside of consciousness, nothing truly moves. Every moment remains etched into the structure of reality. Quantum physics strengthens this interpretation. In certain formulations, the universe is described as a wave function that doesn't evolve. Instead, all possible states coexist timelessly. What we experience as progression is a slice of the wave function correlating with our conscious state. Time emerges from correlation, not from the universe evolving. Visualizing this feels like looking at the frames of a film strip laid out across a long table. The story appears only when the frames move through a projector, but the frames themselves never change. The narrative lives in the motion your mind perceives, not in the images themselves. Another layer of mystery emerges when considering the brain's inability to perceive true simultaneity. Signals from different senses travel at different speeds, yet the brain synchronizes them into a unified moment. It sacrifices accuracy for coherence. This synchronization might be the foundation of the illusion of temporal flow. Thinking of this evokes the image of a conductor guiding musicians who can't hear one another. The conductor brings their notes into alignment, crafting harmony where chaos would otherwise reign. Time's flow may be the conductor's illusion, coherence created from asynchronous signals. Philosophers have long questioned whether the self exists as a stable entity or only as a process unfolding within consciousness. If the self is a process, not a thing, then time might be the sensation generated by that process, like heat produced by friction. Without the process, the heat disappears. This connection between self and time inspires a gentle melancholy. It implies that time feels real because we feel real, and the collapse of one illusion would dismantle the other. The strength of the illusion protects the coherence of experience, allowing life to progress in a way that feels meaningful. Biologists suggest that organisms evolve temporal awareness because predicting the future improves survival. Recognizing patterns, anticipating danger, remembering past outcomes, all support the illusion of a flowing timeline. Time perception became a biological advantage long before it became a philosophical puzzle. Understanding this evolutionary origin evokes the image of early humans navigating landscapes, responding to threats and opportunities, stitching memories into maps of meaning. Time perception guided their actions, becoming an internal tool rather than an external truth. If time is a tool shaped by evolution, then it serves the same function as vision, hearing, and touch, offering a simplified model of reality tuned for usefulness rather than accuracy. The universe might be far stranger than our senses allow us to perceive. This simplification feels like reading only the headlines of a vast encyclopedia. You receive enough information to live and act, but not enough to grasp the full depth beneath the surface. Time's flow may be the headline version of a far more complex reality. Even the distinction between past and future becomes blurry in some interpretations. The future may not be open, nor the past entirely fixed. Both may exist in equal measure, with consciousness giving them direction by traversing them in a specific sequence. The illusion becomes a journey through a landscape, not the birth of new moments. Visualizing this evokes the image of walking along a rail line stretching across a quiet valley. The rails behind you remain. The rails ahead exist. You experience them one step at a time, yet all points of the track coexist regardless of your position. Another striking idea arises from information theory. Every physical process leaves records, scattered traces encoded in particles, fields, and radiation. These records accumulate over what we call time, but in a static universe, they simply occupy different locations. The arrow comes from the distribution of records, not from motion. Reflecting on these records feels like discovering footprints fossilized in stone. The footprints don't tell you where the traveler went next. They reveal only where they once were. Time's arrow may arise from how these records are arranged across the landscape of reality. As these ideas settle into the mind, the boundaries between physics and philosophy begin to dissolve. Time becomes neither a property of objects nor a structure imposed by the universe. It becomes an emergent feature of consciousness, navigating patterns too vast and intricate to grasp all at once. And through that dissolution, something even deeper begins to take shape, something that whispers that the illusion of time is intertwined with the very act of existing, and that to explore it further is to explore the nature of being itself. There comes a moment when studying time deeply enough, where the ideas stop feeling abstract and begin to press gently against your own life. If the universe does not require time to flow, then everything you've ever experienced, every joy, every loss, every fleeting moment, is not gone. It simply resides in a different location within space-time. This thought carries both comfort and a soft ache. The realization that cherished moments still exist somewhere brings a strange warmth. The laughter of people you miss, the light of days long past, the quiet of nights that shaped who you are, they remain part of the universe even if you no longer inhabit them. They're not erased. You've merely drifted onward. Imagining this feels like standing before a corridor lined with countless doors. Each door leads to a moment you once lived, frozen in its own coordinates. You can't open them, can't re-enter them, but knowing they're still there changes something inside. Loss becomes less about disappearance and more about distance. At the same time, the permanence of moments introduces a subtle sadness. If every instant of your life is fixed, then change becomes less about new creation and more about movement through a landscape already drawn. Growth takes on a bittersweet flavor, the awareness that progress is a change of position rather than evolution of reality. This perspective invites reflection on relationships. People enter and exit your life, yet in the tapestry of space-time, the moments you shared remain untouched. The laughter, the arguments, the tenderness, the silences, they persist. As real as stars fixed in constellations, you move away from them, but they do not disappear. Visualizing these preserved interactions evokes the image of fireflies hovering over a meadow, each glow marking a moment suspended in darkness. You walk among them, illuminating some, leaving others behind. The meadow remains unchanging, even as your path winds through it. Realizing that moments persist forever also changes the way you think about pain. Difficult experiences do not vanish either. They remain in the structure of the universe. But just as physical scars don't define a person entirely, painful moments become only small regions within a much larger landscape. Contemplating this evokes a soft melancholy. If all moments exist, then life's beauty and sorrow are woven with equal permanence. Yet the way you carry them, the meaning you draw from them, remains entirely yours. You move through the landscape differently than anyone else, shaping your personal narrative. A timeless universe also challenges the belief that healing is linear. The version of you who suffered remains in that moment, but so does the version of you who overcame, who grew stronger, who learned compassion. These versions coexist. You are not only one snapshot, you are the entire mosaic. Thinking of identity this way feels like looking at a stained glass window lit from behind. Each fragment has its own color, some darker, some brighter, but together they create a single image. Time doesn't assemble the pieces, you do breaks by choosing how to interpret them. Another emotional layer emerges when you consider the people you love. If time is an illusion, then the versions of them you knew, the ones who laughed with you, embraced you, shaped you, still exist somewhere in the structure of the universe. The connection doesn't vanish. It becomes part of space-time's permanent architecture. This permanence carries a bittersweet beauty. It means that love isn't erased by distance, change, or loss. It remains a thread woven into the cosmos, as enduring as the fabric itself. You move on, but the echo of that affection stays etched into the structure of reality. Yet the idea of permanent moments also exposes a vulnerability. If nothing truly fades, then nothing is truly replaceable. Each moment becomes precious, singular, irreplaceable. Even mundane experiences gain weight when viewed as eternal snapshots fixed in the universe's timeless tapestry. This sense of preciousness feels like watching snow fall in slow motion, each flake a unique pattern melting before you can fully appreciate it. Yet imagined as permanent, the beauty becomes almost overwhelming. Time's illusion gives transience meaning. Timelessness gives meaning permanence. Understanding these dualities, fleeting and eternal, painful and beautiful, stirs a deep emotional resonance. It becomes clear that time's illusion protects you. It allows you to move beyond painful regions of space-time without staying trapped. It gives you the ability to change direction, to shift perspective, to evolve internally even if the universe remains static. The awareness of this psychological freedom evokes quiet gratitude. You don't travel through time helplessly. You navigate a landscape with agency. You interpret, reinterpret, reframe, transform. The mind moves even when the universe might not. cosmology further deepens this emotional landscape. The expansion of the universe ensures that some regions drift forever beyond reach, carrying moments and galaxies into eternal separation. The structure of space-time itself enforces distance for both cosmic events and personal memories. Imagining this cosmic drift feels like watching lanterns float down a river at night. Some stay close, glowing softly beside you. Others drift away until their light fades into the distance. You know they still exist downstream, even as they vanish from view. This recognition blends melancholy with serenity. It invites acceptance, not resignation, but peaceful acknowledgement that existence contains both closeness and distance, connection and separation. The illusion of time gives these opposites motion. Timelessness gives them significance. Reflecting on these layers leads to a quiet realization. The illusion of time might not be a mistake. It might be a gift. Without it, consciousness could not weave a narrative, could not grow, could not find meaning. Time's illusion allows life to unfold like a story, even if all its chapters are already written. And as this part of the journey nears its soft end, a deeper question begins to glow beneath the surface, one that hints that the illusion of time is tied not only to the cosmos, but to the very essence of what it means to be alive, to love, to remember, and to hope. As the illusion of time becomes clearer, it's natural to encounter a quiet uneasiness flickering at the edge of awareness. If moments do not truly pass, if all experiences coexist in a vast, timeless structure, then what does it mean to live? The familiar narrative of moving from one chapter to the next dissolves, replaced by a stillness that can feel both comforting and unsettling. This stillness invites a reflection on mortality. The idea of death depends entirely on time's flow, on the belief that life advances toward an end point. But in a timeless universe, death does not erase a person. It simply indicates that your consciousness has moved to another region of space-time. The version of you that lived remains, forever part of the cosmic tapestry. Thinking of death this way evokes an image of a candle extinguished in a dark room. The flame vanishes, yet the warmth it left behind lingers. The shape of the melted wax stays fixed. The candle's glow becomes a region of space-time with its own coordinates, never erased by the passing of moments. This permanence softens some of the fear surrounding death. If every instance of your existence remains somewhere untouched, then identity does not vanish. It becomes distributed across the landscape. Loss transforms into relocation. Instead of falling into nothingness, you remain embedded within space-time's structure. Yet this perspective also introduces a subtle sadness. If time does not flow, then the people you love do not truly leave you, but you also cannot return to the moments you shared. The distance becomes permanent, not because moments vanish, but because consciousness continues moving. The ache comes not from disappearance, but from separation. Imagining this separation feels like standing at a shoreline, watching a ship disappear into the horizon. The ship still exists somewhere out there, but it grows unreachable, drifting into regions beyond your vantage point. The pain lies not in the ship's fate, but in the distance that has grown between you. This distance underscores the fragility of identity. If you are simply a sequence of conscious states, each fixed in space-time, then the you of yesterday is not gone, but is also not quite you. You become a trail of selves, each preserved, each limited to its own coordinates. The illusion of a single continuous self arises only from the movement of awareness. Thinking of identity as a trail of selves evokes the image of footprints winding across a snow-covered field. Each print is distinct. Each belongs to a precise moment. Together they tell a story, but no single print contains the entire journey. The illusion emerges in the stitching, not the steps. This stitching grows more fragile when you consider how memory works. Memory anchors identity, yet memory is flawed, selective, and constantly rewritten. You reconstruct your story each time you recall it, weaving threads that bind the prints together. Without this reconstruction, there would be no narrative, no progression, no sense of self. Reflecting on this evokes a gentle melancholy. You realize that the you carry is partly an act of imagination, a creative assembly of fragments into a cohesive whole. Time's illusion is the glue holding that assembly together. Without it, identity might dissolve into disconnected moments. Physics compounds this fragility by revealing that the universe has no center, no preferred vantage point, no privileged timeline. Everything exists in relation to everything else. Your life is not unfolding on a cosmic stage. It is one of countless patterns woven into an indifferent, magnificent expanse. Yet there is beauty in this indifference. A universe without inherent meaning gives you the freedom to create your own. The illusion of time allows you to feel movement, progress, growth. It transforms a static structure into a lived story. Without it, existence might feel flat, devoid of purpose. Imagining life without purpose evokes a barren landscape under a grey sky, motionless, silent, but vast. The landscape exists, yet something essential is missing. Time's illusion brings color to that landscape, adding seasons, weather, warmth, and rhythm. The illusion enriches existence rather than deceives it. Another emotional layer emerges when contemplating the idea that your future self already exists somewhere in the structure of space-time. The person you will become is not waiting to form, it is already carved into the tapestry. Consciousness simply has not drifted to that coordinate yet. This possibility evokes the image of a distant lighthouse glowing faintly on the horizon. The light is already shining, you just haven't reached the shoreline where it stands. The path that leads there is your journey of awareness, not the creation of new time. But knowing that the future already exists can feel uncanny. It suggests that choice, agency, and freedom might be illusions too. Yet physics leaves room for flexibility. While the structure may be set, consciousness may still interpret, reframe, and respond. The meaning of each moment remains fluid, even if the moment itself is fixed. Thinking of meaning as fluid evokes the image of water pooled in a carved stone basin. The shape of the basin is rigid, unchanging, but the water inside can shimmer, ripple, warm, cool, or reflect light differently, depending on countless subtle influences. Meaning behaves the same way, dynamic within a static frame. This dynamic quality of meaning brings comfort. Even if the future is already etched into space-time, how you experience it remains open. Emotion, interpretation, understanding, these remain malleable. The universe may not change, but consciousness does. And that evolution shapes your perceived journey. Cosmology adds depth to this existential perspective. The universe expands relentlessly, carrying galaxies away from one another at increasing speeds. Many regions already lie beyond the reach of light. They exist permanently outside observable reality. In a timeless cosmos, these unreachable regions still shine somewhere, forever beyond our awareness. Imagining these unreachable places evokes the image of stars reflected on a frozen lake, distant, silent, unreachable, yet undeniably present. The universe contains countless moments like that, visible in theory but forever out of reach. Their existence deepens the sense of mystery rather than diminishing it. Thinking about unreachable regions parallels moments in life you can't return to, choices you can't undo, paths you didn't take, conversations you wish you could revisit. They exist in the tapestry, even if you can't go back. The permanence of these coordinates blends sorrow with acceptance. This emotional interplay prepares the mind for one final realization. If time is an illusion, then the meaning of existence cannot be found in the movement from past to future. It must be found in the experience itself, in the awareness illuminating each coordinate as consciousness encounters it. And just as this realization settles deeper into the quiet of the night, another question begins to rise, one that touches not only the illusion of time, but the quiet possibility that meaning itself emerges from the way you move within that illusion. When you bring all these ideas together, timeless physics, emergent perception, scattered memory, and consciousness moving through a static universe, a picture begins to form. It's not a simple one, and it doesn't offer the comfort of clear answers, but it does offer a kind of quiet coherence, the sense that your experience of time is both illusion and necessity, both fragile and meaningful. This synthesis invites a gentler understanding of freedom. If the future already exists somewhere in space-time, that doesn't mean your choices lack significance. Meaning can arise not from altering the structure, but from how you experience it. The way you interpret each moment becomes your act of freedom. Thinking of freedom this way evokes the image of a traveler walking through a valley carved by ancient glaciers. The path is set, but the traveler chooses where to pause, what to notice, what to cherish. The landscape remains still, yet the journey becomes uniquely theirs through perspective and attention. The illusion of time transforms this static landscape into a story. You feel beginnings, middles, and endings. You sense growth, change, progress. Even if the universe does not truly evolve, your perception of evolution shapes your inner world. The narrative becomes as real to you as any physical structure. Reflecting on this narrative evokes the image of a book whose pages already contain the entire story. You read it line by line, discovering details and emotions as you move through it. The story doesn't change, but your understanding does. Time's illusion grants you the privilege of discovery. Another insight emerges when you consider how complexity shapes experience. Simple systems don't need time. Atoms and fundamental particles do not feel moments passing, but as complexity increases, through life, consciousness, memory, the illusion becomes essential. It allows organisms to act, survive, plan, dream. This dependence on illusion highlights a profound truth. Time is not a flaw in perception, but a feature of existence. Without it, consciousness could not function. The mind relies on flow to navigate an overwhelming universe, turning static information into dynamic experience. Imagining this reliance feels like watching a bird glide across a vast sky. The air currents and gravitational forces are constant, yet the bird's motion creates meaning within them. The sky does not move, the bird does. Similarly, the universe remains static while consciousness glides through it. The interplay between illusion and meaning reveals something beautiful. Even if time is not fundamental, the emotions tied to it, love, hope, loss, longing, are real. They do not require time to exist. They arise from awareness, not from the universe's structure. Consciousness gives them life. Thinking of emotions as emergent qualities evokes the image of colors spreading through a crystal when sunlight touches it. The crystal itself doesn't change, yet the experience of seeing the colors is entirely real, vivid, and meaningful. Time's illusion creates those colors in the mind. Another layer unfolds when considering that the self, too, may be emergent. If identity is a collection of experiences stitched together, then time's illusion forms the thread holding them in place. Without flow, the pieces might exist separately, lacking the continuity needed to feel like a unified being. This understanding evokes the calm clarity of seeing your reflection in still water. The water contains no inherent image. The reflection forms only when conditions allow it. Identity may behave the same way, appearing when consciousness crosses certain patterns in space-time. As you consider these connections, the fear of determinism begins to soften. If the future is fixed, that does not cancel freedom. Freedom shifts from altering events to shaping interpretation. The way you respond becomes your unique contribution to the universe. Meaning is not dictated by structure, it emerges from awareness. This shift in perspective evokes the image of music played from a fixed score. The notes are written, but each musician interprets them differently. The performance becomes a living thing, shaped by emotion, timing, emphasis. The universe may be the score. Consciousness becomes the performance. When viewed this way, the illusion of time becomes more than a trick. It becomes an offering. It allows you to experience moments in a sequence that feels intimate, manageable, human. Without this ordering, existence might be too overwhelming to process, too vast to inhabit. Imagining existence without sequence feels like staring at a starry sky with no sense of foreground or distance. Everything appears at once, dazzling but incomprehensible. Time provides depth, letting you move through the stars rather than drown in them. As these reflections deepen, the question of purpose takes a new shape. If the universe does not prescribe meaning, then meaning arises from engagement, curiosity, presence. Time's illusion becomes the stage where purpose is explored, not a constraint limiting it. Thinking of purpose this way evokes the image of a wanderer exploring an ancient temple. The structure does not change, yet the wanderer's feelings, discoveries, and insights create a unique experience. The temple becomes meaningful through the journey, not through transformation. This realization softens existential anxiety. You do not need to solve the universe to live within it. You do not need to break the illusion of time to find peace. The illusion serves you. It supports consciousness, emotion, and identity. It is the medium through which life becomes knowable. And as this final idea settles, the night grows still once more. The layers of physics, philosophy, memory, and meaning all converge into a quiet awareness. The sense that your journey through the illusion of time is both fragile and extraordinary. Something gentle begins to rise from that awareness, inviting you toward a soft and peaceful closing where all these insights can settle into calm understanding. As all these ideas settle into a quiet corner of your mind, a gentle clarity begins to emerge. Time so rigid in daily life, so authoritative in schedules and memories, now feels softer, almost translucent. It becomes something you can look through rather than something that encloses you. The universe, once imagined as a machine that ticks forward, reveals itself as a vast, timeless tapestry, with your awareness moving like a drifting lantern across its surface. The more you reflect on this, the more peaceful the illusion becomes. If every moment you've lived still exists somewhere within the fabric of space-time, then your story is not slipping away. It's simply resting in a different part of the cosmic landscape. Nothing is erased, nothing is lost. The richness of your journey remains woven into the structure of reality, preserved like gentle imprints pressed into soft clay. Thinking of life this way invites a tender kind of acceptance. You are not racing against time. You are moving through a beautiful arrangement of experiences, each one waiting for you like a quiet room filled with its own light. You don't have to outrun anything. You don't have to hold on so tightly. The moments you cherish remain exactly where they belong, steady, safe, unmoving. There's comfort in recognizing that consciousness brings meaning to the illusion. Even if the universe does not require time to flow, your mind uses the idea of flow to tell a story that feels alive. The narrative you experience, filled with emotion, memory, hope, is not diminished by being an illusion. Illusions can be beautiful. Illusions can be necessary. Illusions can make existence feel warm, navigable, deeply human. This realization softens the fear of uncertainty. If the future already exists somewhere, then there is no need to force it or fear it. Your awareness will reach those moments when the time is right. And if the past remains forever etched into the universe, then the people and places and feelings that shaped you are never gone. They're simply out of reach, like constellations you can no longer see, but know are still shining. As this calm begins to settle around you, gratitude rises naturally. If this long drift through science and wonder brought you even a moment of peace, you're warmly invited to leave a like and subscribe. It helps this quiet corner of the internet reach others who might need a gentle way to fall asleep or relax after a long day. Thank you for being here, exploring something so vast in such a soft and human way. Before we say goodnight, I'd love to know where you are in the world and what time it is for you right now. It's a beautiful reminder that countless listeners, each with their own timeline and their own dreams, gather here from different corners of the planet to share a single moment of quiet curiosity. And now, as the journey nears its final breath, everything becomes still again. The noise of daily life fades, leaving only the whisper of your thoughts drifting through the dark. You are part of the universe trying to understand itself, a moment of awareness inside an infinite, timeless structure. That alone makes your existence extraordinary. So let this final thought rest gently beside you. Even if time is the greatest illusion in the universe, your presence within that illusion creates something real, something warm, meaningful, and quietly luminous. Thank you for sharing this night. May your dreams be soft, your mind unburdened, and your path ahead illuminated by the calm you found here.